Yes, sirs and madam, wake the town and tell the people. Coming your way. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Garfield Waller. Welcome to another episode of Rock the Mic. Hope everybody's doing fine. I'm going to ask you listen, if you're out there and you're hearing me, could you put something in the chat to let me know what the sound quality is like? I like being on audio check at the start. So could you just say in the chat whether you're hearing me loud or clear, whether the voice is too low or what? I want to have an idea what's happening. Well, glad you could join me tonight. So whether you are gonna be watching this live or thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. Whether you're gonna be watching this live or watching it on the replay, I'd like you to comment and give some feedback. My guest tonight should be Senator Floyd Morris, but as of now, he has not made an appearance yet. Hi, Styler. How are you doing? Glad to have you here. Yeah, thank you, Sir Drew. Senator Morris has not shown up yet. I guess he's caught in traffic because I know he's somebody who is very dependable. So let's just kill some time before he gets here. But we should be talking to him about his run for the position of MP for Central St. Mary. And I think I see the senator just making an appearance. So in a little while, I'm going to let him in. So, Senator Morris, I hope you're okay. I hope you're hearing me all right. Could you give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me okay, sir? Thumbs up? Good. All right, good. So here we go, Senator Morris, and I'm going to let you in right now. Okay, Senator, you're on. How are you, sir?
Oh boy, I'm great, man. I'm great. I am sorry. You know Bailey'sville very
Yeah.
well because you are
Yep.
born here, and I was right in the crossroad just now,
Oh my
and the
gosh.
people would never let me go.
Would never let you go. Okay. That
I
sounds
said,
that
I said to them, I have to go and do this interview with Gary Waller.
that
So
sounds like a good problem to have, but
yes,
glad you
so
could make it.
yes.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, Senator Morris, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris is a man who needs no introduction when it comes to all walks of life in Jamaica. Everybody knows this man. Man is one of our most famous citizens. So, Senator, you
Yes.
recently returned from a trip to Switzerland. Would you mind telling us what was that about? Just give us some
Okay,
background.
okay. Thank you very much, Gary, for accommodating me on this very insightful program that you have going. I must say that I went to Switzerland as a part of my duties at the United Nations. You'll recall about 2 years ago, I
Yep.
was elected as one of 18 experts to serve on the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And we are mandated to assess the progress that countries that have signed and ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to assess the progress that they have made.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 184 countries in the world that have signed and
That have
ratified the
signed on this.
convention.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm a part of that expert group that
Expert
is
group. Okay.
that has been elected to monitor the implementation. Big responsibility because
Yes.
you're talking about 1.3 billion individuals across the world and
Mm-hmm.
also 184 countries.
About 84 countries. Well, we know you will and you have done Jamaica real proud. But tonight, we're not here to really talk about your disability as such. We are trying to find out a little about your aspirations. No,
Mhm.
Senator Morris,
Yes.
you have ascended the dizzying heights of politics here in Jamaica, right up to
Mhm.
president of the Senate. Why an MP? Why do you want to be an MP? Why would you like to be an MP?
Well, you know, I was born in the community of Bailey'sville, the community of your birth as well. And I think we went to a similar primary school and high school as well. I went to Portmore Primary School, went to St. Mary High School for all my years. And I tell people that I know St. Mary inside out. I don't need my sight to function in St. Mary because it is a place that I know very well, having grown up uh, all my years in the parish and just developing my disability at age 20. So I have a full view as to what
Okay.
the parish is like. And having gone to university and completed a first degree, completed my master's, completed a PhD, and having served in the capacity as Minister of State in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, becoming President of the Senate, and being elected to the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, having to go across the world to advise governments on different issues relating to governance and also persons with disabilities. I have seen and felt it all. And I say that I would want to implement some of the things that I have seen elsewhere in my community, in my parish, and make life better for the people of Central St. Mary. And the moment that I learned that our able member of parliament, Dr. Morais Guy, uh, will not be going back for the next election,
Mhm.
I I have been approached by a number of individuals from the community, individuals from the broader party family who know how much I have served the party, know how much my mother has served the movement. Uh, they they have asked me why not make an attempt this time around to be the member of parliament for Central St. Mary. And based on a number of consideration, I've thought of it carefully. I said that I would go forward because the truth is, Gary, I'm very comfortable where I am at the University
I
of the
know,
West
I know,
Indies.
I know. And what most people don't know is that you're also a lecturer at UWI. But
Right. I am a senior lecturer.
a senior
I am
lecturer
a
at that.
senior lecturer at the University of the West Indies.
All right, here's a tricky question. With your high profile reputation, okay,
Mhm.
why go after such a safe seat as Central St. Mary? Why not try and capture another seat for the party? Because everybody knows Central St. Mary is really PNP country. Why would you not go after some other seat somewhere else?
Well, you see, I want to go where I am comfortable and where I understand the people and where I want to make a difference. I want when I leave this life, people in the communities of Trial, in the communities of Albion Mountain, people from Woodside, people from Killancally, people from Roadside, people from Bakasud, can say that a man who was born and bred in the area did this for the communities
For the people.
and the people. And I want to make sure that I leave my mark and my imprint on these communities. And it's a number of strategies, a number of things that I would want to do. I mean, I tell you, Gary, it pains my heart when I I go overseas and have to advise governments on inclusive education, for example. And when I step into a classroom and see that they are using electronic board with computers to teach their children, and Jamaica that has to compete with those countries internationally, we are still having teachers writing on blackboards
Then from chalk dust, huh?
and chalk dusters, which we were subject to going to Port Maria Primary School and St. Mary High School.
Wait,
And,
hold on a minute, Senator. Before I get to that point, there are a few other questions I want to I want us to get out of the way.
Okay,
Let's
all
get
right.
yes. Seriously now, do you think Jamaicans, do you think Jamaicans are ready for an MP with a disability like yours? Knowing how our people are, do you think they're ready for that?
If not now, when?
When?
If not now, when?
When?
And so, somebody has to push the envelope.
The envelope,
Somebody has to seek to break the glass ceiling.
glass ceiling.
And I believe that the opportunity is now. I mean, I think that based on the profile of the disability community, I am probably the most known in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica at this point in time, and the
Probably.
most active in the political space. And
Okay.
so it is within that context that I am putting myself forward. The Disabilities Act 2014 has a provision in it, Section 32, that expressly frowns upon discrimination against a person with disability on the
Right.
basis of their disability.
Disability.
And it encourages political parties to make sure that persons with disabilities are, are active participants in the political space.
In the
Now,
political space.
if it is that individuals discriminate against persons with disabilities, it is an illegal act and it
Mm-hmm.
is subject uh, um, to legal consequences.
Legal consequences.
And,
All
and
right.
and so I think the opportunity is there. I mean, there are legitimate concerns that citizens will have,
We'll have, yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
an individual with a disability entering into the
Into the
political
realm of
space. But
politics.
I say to them, remember that in England, David Blunkett was Minister of Education and he was a member of Parliament, was blind. Uh, Floyd Patterson was the Lieutenant Governor of New York,
New York.
and
And a
he
couple
was
years ago,
blind.
the president of the Dominican Republic, I can't
Right.
remember his name, right?
Yes.
he,
He also had a
he was
visual
blind.
disability, and
Mm.
you have uh, President Roosevelt
Mm.
um,
Yep.
in the
He
United
was
States
confined to a chair. Polio.
had a physical disability. He used a wheelchair, and they made seminal contributions.
True.
When I was Minister of State, which I served for 7 years, there was never one complaint about my responsibilities that I executed on the PATH program relating to senior citizens, persons with disabilities, the national insurance scheme. Nobody had ever questioned the competence. When I was president of the Senate, nobody had ever questioned the competence.
Mm-hmm.
At the University of the West Indies, where I teach not disabled students, I teach
Able
fully
bodied.
abled
Mm-hmm.
students at the University of the West Indies, and none of the occasion has my competence been questioned. In
Been
fact,
questioned. Mm-hmm.
in fact, I have been promoted year after year at
Mm-hmm.
the University of the West Indies to the point where I am a senior lecturer, and something big is coming. Something big is
All
coming.
right, hold it, sir, hold it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining me, my guest is Senator Floyd Morris. Floyd is putting himself up for selection for the MP for Central St. Mary. Floyd, could you tell us, for those who don't know, some of the major areas covered by in your constituency in Central St. Mary? What are the major areas?
When you say major areas, you're talking about communities
Yes,
or
communities. Yeah.
all right. You have Port Maria, which
Mm-hmm.
is the big parish capital, and
Mm-hmm.
it spans all those communities ranging from Cock Street, Paget, Frontier, the housing scheme coming into Baileysville, Albion Mountain, parts of Jack's River forms a part of the Greater Port Maria
Okay.
area, Wentworth, you know, and Little Bay, etc. And then you have Highgate, which, you know, that covers the center of the town of Highgate, and that include the housing scheme down by Stockholm Park, and you have Gully Road, Sidon,
Man,
Marlborough, Woodside,
man,
Fraserwood,
man,
Trumulsworth,
you know your
Harmony
area, man.
Hall, all of those places, because I went to St. Mary High there, you know, and I tell them, you know, I mean, I used to go all over
Mhm.
the constituency, and you have
Good.
Hampstead, you know, which covers Hampstead proper, and then you
Uh-huh.
have Killancolly, you have parts of Harmony Hall that falls in the constituency in the community of Hampstead as well, and Haywood Hall, parts of Whitehall. Then you have Sunside, which, you know, is the area that my father is from, and you know, you have
Grace.
places like Gray Street and Baileysville, which forms a part of the border of the
Mhm.
Hampstead division, as well as the Port
Mhm.
Maria division. And then you have uh, Islington, which is a very huge
Yep,
community,
yep.
you know, and that would cover places like Bakersfield. It would cover capture places like Roadside, places like Robbins Bay. All of those areas are a major part of the Islington community.
All right. Good. Thank you, sir. Very good geography lesson. Now, what would you say to the critic who says, listen, this man is international. He's going to spend too much time overseas, and not be here to pay attention to Central St. Mary. How would you answer that?
Not at all. Not at all. Certainly not. That's not how the process works. Once I am an elected member of parliament, I wouldn't be a part of the United Nations committee.
Okay.
In fact, you are elected for a 4-year term,
Hmm.
and the term ends for me in 2024, unless it
Okay.
is that I seek re-election. And
Election. Oh,
if it is that I am the candidate for the People's National Party for Central St. Mary, I wouldn't seek re-election, you know.
okay. Okay.
And all my international obligations would cease. So my
Okay.
focus would be on the constituency of Central St. Mary and Jamaica as a whole. You see, the truth is that I really want to make a difference
The
in
difference.
my community. I have done.
So much so that I love your slogan, your mantra. Could you let the people know what that is?
Okay, the mantra is vision over sight, substance over hype. With Floyd, we grow.
Okay. Vision over sight,
Yes,
substance over hype.
over
Okay,
hype.
good.
With Floyd,
I
we
like that.
grow. With
I
Floyd, we
like that.
grow.
Okay.
Yes,
So it's
yes,
action. It's
yes.
action, not a
Yeah,
bag of mouth, right?
yeah, man. Because people must understand, you know, Gary, that it doesn't require
Mhm.
sight to do the things that I want to do and that a member of parliament is required to do. What it is required is vision, because our national anthem says that if there is no vision, we are going to perish. You know, and
Perish.
it asks for, oh, when the prayer starts, it says, give us vision lest we
Let's be
perish.
perish. Mhm.
You know, and that is what we want for the constituency: vision to transform education, vision to
Education.
create employment, vision to make sure that there is infrastructural development, vision to transform and empower the people through agriculture and other
Yeah.
necessities in the
Yes, Floyd. Hold
constituency.
on, Floyd. I'm gonna let you speak on every one of those items in a minute. I'm gonna let you go on education, agriculture, all of them. I want to hear, and I'm sure the people want to hear your ideas for that. And I'm looking at some of the comments coming in from people like Eric Pini Ross. Yep. Miss Fraser, we see you. Marcia, yep. Dorothy, yes, Dorothy, very articulate. This man is very articulate. So, listen, Mr. Morris. I want you to speak on, touch on all the areas you plan to improve, the areas you plan to get to work in from the very first day. What would your agenda be like? Floyd Morris is elected. Floyd is going to get to work. Let's hear your
Ed,
plans.
education, number one,
Why?
because I know that the reasons why I am able to offer myself and make myself available to represent the people of St. Mary Central is because of the education that I have received and that God has been so good to me. And I want to extend all of that to the people of Central St. Mary. And the truth is that we have the infrastructure in place. There need to be an expansion and a modernization of the education infrastructure to make sure that it is brought into current realities. And so I am in for making sure that we engage in a massive computerization of the primary and high schools that are in the constituency to make sure that it reflects current reality so that our young people can capitalize on the offerings on the global market. And in that regard, as I pointed out about how we are using blackboards in 21st century Jamaica to teach our students, I'm going to be working closely with the government and the diaspora from St. Mary to try and change out as much of those blackboards as possible in the primary and secondary schools and make them give modern facilities to accommodate the students. And I have done that before because in the disability community, I piloted a project where I got uh, modern equipment for the special education schools across the country, and that was a very successful project. And
Good.
one of the things that is going to be very unique to me that I know nobody else who is in the race can claim and offer.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the data surrounding the performance of our students in the education system, it is showing and pointing to 30 odd percent of our children graduating from high school without being able to read, write, and do maths. And as an expert with in the field of disability, I realize that a part of that difficulty is the fact that you have individuals with learning disabilities, whether it is dyslexia, the inability to read, dysgraphia, the inability to write, dyscalculia, the
Dyscalculia. Mm-hmm.
inability to do maths. And I am going to make sure that every single teacher at the primary and at the secondary level make sure that these individuals are trained in how to relate and deal with students in such a situation. It has to happen because Jamaica has obligation under the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to promote an inclusive education. And with my skill sets, that is going to be a reality. And then, we're going to make sure that we look at how we can improve the physical infrastructure. Some of the schools in the uh, in the constituency needs improvement, needs
Yep.
some expansion, um, and that is something that we are prepared to work on. And most of these will have to be done through joint partnership, joint effort with the community, with the government, with resources from the diaspora, and also the member of parliament. So there's a number of things that I intend to do where the education system is concerned. Children are leaving primary school and high school, and when they go home, they don't have anybody to assist them with their schoolwork. We are going to be rolling out a number of homework centers across the constituency, getting retired teachers, retired nurses, retired policemen to assist these children in the communities with their homeworks. And we are going to be tapping into the church community because, you know, for majority of the time in the week, the church doors are closed.
Close.
And we want to make sure that we negotiate with the pastors and so to get these young people into the church community and to get them to do their homework with the assistance and support of the retired teachers and so forth. So that is a part of the vision and strategy in terms of education.
All right,
And
Senator Morris, hold on. Somebody here is asking, hey, with all these great plans, how do you plan to source these funds apart from just government funds? How else could you go over? How else do you think you could generate these funds for all these great plans in education?
well, as I indicated, I would be tapping into the diaspora community that I know a lot of them have been reaching out to me in terms of wanting to help the, 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 the communities through education. And then a part of my skill sets is project writing, and I will be going into writing projects and sourcing funding from donor agencies that I am very much familiar with because in
Okay.
my capacity at the University of the West Indies to prepare research projects, I have to seek grant funding, etc.
Mhm.
You know, so I mean, I will be setting up a mechanism to mobilize funding from bilateral and multilateral institutions
Institution.
from
Okay.
the constituency as well. And that would include some of the embassies, would include some of the donor agencies like USAID, CEDA, the European
Okay.
Union, etc., etc.
Yes, Senator Morris, good plan, good plan. But let me say this. You talk about improving education. We have to have something ready for these kids once they leave school. Once a child graduates from high school, does he or will he or she have to leave St. Mary? Will he or she have to go to Kingston, Mobay, or what plans?
Well, again, that is another area that I have big ideas for because individuals leave St. Mary for Ocherius or Kingston largely because of the restriction or the limitation in terms of economic activities.
Hmm.
And over the past couple of years, I mean, we have seen the closure of grazing in the 1980s, and we have not had a resuscitation of any
Hmm.
industry to create employment in the parish. We have seen also the closure of the Highgate Chocolate Factory in the early 1990s, and also the wars that were here in Port Maria and Orokobesa in the
Hmm.
1960s. And so, economic activities in the parish has been restricted. And there is a need for a major economic project that can pull uh, um, uh, employment of these
Mm-hmm.
talents that are coming out of the high school when these students graduate, or even for those who have gone to study overseas, or in Kingston. So, I mean, I have a big ideas project that I am keeping close to my chest
Close to your chest.
at the moment.
Yep.
But I say
Okay.
to the people of Central St. Mary, just watch Floyd Morris when him stepping, because I am stepping hot.
That's a
I
stepping
am
razor.
stepping, I am stepping hot
Okay.
because, I tell people, I don't, God has been good to me, Gary. He has
Mm.
been very good to me, and he has blessed me a lot. And I can't come to politics. I don't come to this to look anything for myself. I don't come to scrape. I come to give back. And a part of that giving back is to ensure that we advance and develop the infrastructure of the parish as a whole, but St. Mary Central to be specific. You
Yes,
know,
talk about the roads. Talk about the roads, sir. Yes, because somebody in here kidding me in the chat about the roads.
okay, well, the roads are sore problem across Jamaica, and it is um, the same in St. Mary. If you would note, there has been significant work that has been done in terms of the main roads spanning through uh, Galena, Port Maria, part of the North Coast Highway network that was built in the 1990s, mid 2000. And that road still stands solid for most part. I've seen, some uh, deterioration in
Hmm.
around Little Bay there, and
Okay.
also right at the soldier camp there, and right up by Whitehall, that we need to have those remedied to make sure that the road, but 90% of the road in terms of the main road there is solid. Where you have the challenge now is
Hmm.
when you go into places like
The interior.
Hampstead, when you go into places like Bonnygate, that is bordering Central St. Mary
Western.
and West, when you go into to Albion Mountain, when you go into Islington, go down to Roadside and Robbins Bay and Baccasud, when you go into Haywood Hall, that is where you are seeing some serious problems in terms of the road network. And
Hmm.
I mean, it is a matter that requires urgent attention, um, because, they say the road to development is the development of road. And I will be making a strong representation for those to be dealt with. One of the things that I must point out as well is we have to look overall in Jamaica on how we design and develop our road infrastructure. We are using Marl as the major sub base in
Hmm.
an area where we get significantly high rainfall.
Rainfall. Hmm.
And Marl, after a while, after you get consistent rainfall, it deteriorates the road network. And that is something that we have to
Look
look
into.
at
Hmm.
in a serious way. I know that there was an initiative to introduce concrete roads, and I think there was a challenge with the cost where that is
Yeah.
concerned.
Okay. Hmm.
But the thing is that concrete roads last much longer,
Much longer.
and we have to look at how we can do a mixture of those concrete roads and asphalted roads in
Hmm.
some of the communities, across the constituency. And I mean, I will be working with the communities because there are limited resources in Jamaica. Thankfully, we are seeing an improvement now in terms of our debt to GDP ratio. And so
Okay.
there is more money that is being made available to government to deal with some of the capital expenditure. But I want to ensure that every cent that is allocated for uh, um, road infrastructure in Central St. Mary to make sure that it is utilized so that the people benefit in a significant way. So that is something that would receive some priorities, all right?
Good, good.
But go
Great,
ahead.
great plan. Great plans, Senator. But listen to me. This is one of my pet peeves, and sometimes I get sick and tired of it. Whenever you mention that you come from St. Mary to anybody else in Jamaica, the first thing they think of, oh, Banana Parish,
Mm-hmm.
as if that's all we can do. Are there any plans? Are there any plans to sort of diversify, to say highlight something else, move in other directions? I'm not saying get rid of bananas, but
Mm-hmm.
what are your plans for the whole agricultural system?
Well, and I mean, we haven't been even producing much banana these days because with what has happened in terms of globalization and
Mhm.
Chiquita and Dole being the
Yeah, Dole
dominant
banana.
producers of banana in Central and South America.
America.
So and our banana plantations here have been very susceptible to the realities, harsh realities of the weather. So most of the banana producers in the parish have gone down. They have more moved to ripening the fruit and also use banana for chips,
Chips.
right? So they are going into the value added aspect of the production. Now, I do agree with you that we have to diversify our agricultural base in light of a number of international factors, and one of them is that of climate change. So we have to make sure that we are engaged in other crop productions
Hmm.
that can help in the transformation of the economy of St. Mary Central. And we have to make sure that in that diversification, we venture up the value chain because it cannot be confined to just mere commodity. We have to go into byproducts. So, for example, in Central St. Mary, we have a lot of mangoes in places like Albion Mountain, in places like Bacchuswood in Islington. We have a lot of mangoes that are
Don't get me hungry. Don't get me
and
hungry now here.
I tell you, I just whapped some number 11, I
Oh
just
my
whapped
God,
some number 11.
I've had that in years.
And they say that the number 11 is one of the best flavored mangoes that you have, you know. Um, and the mango, we can use it for do the juice extraction, we can use it for mango puree and so forth, and to get it into the hotel industry. We,
Industry,
we,
okay.
we have apples, OTT apples in droves in the parish. And I tell people that about 60% of the crop is wasted every year. We have to make sure that we do the processing. We have to dry the apple. We have to juice the apple, and we have to extract the flavors from the apple to engage into the expansion of production
Mhm.
and the value chain, up the value chain. Likewise, when I go to Switzerland, Switzerland produces a lot of chocolate. That they are said to be the king of chocolate, right?
And they're doing great there, right?
And they don't grow it, right? But the bulk of their chocolate comes from Ghana, right? Now, Ghana has the chocolate in quantity, but in terms of the quality, they have to speak to Jamaica. But the quality, the quantity of the Jamaican chocolate, which is dominant in St. Mary's Central, is not available in any large quantity. And we have to make sure no that we rehabilitate a lot of those chocolate um, farms and expand, make sure people plant them all over. And we have to do our own drying and processing, so that we can get that flavor to the international market. We can't just produce the cocoa beans as
Yeah.
a commodity. We have to go up the value chain
Up the chain, yeah.
and and export it so that we get more money. So whatsoever we're doing in agriculture, we cannot be engaged in what I call commodification. We have to engage in byproducts and to
Okay.
um, uh, make sure that our citizens are expanding those offers. I started a project last year, and it has nothing to do with my current desires to be the member of parliament. It has to do with growing up in Baileysville and all of those mango trees and fruit trees that I picked mangoes from are dying out or have died.
Okay, yeah.
And so, what I started to do is to purchase fruit trees, giving every home in
Okay.
Baileysville 2 or 3 fruit trees to plant.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, it is going to be a continuous project because I want to build an orchard in the community to make sure that if you want any amount of Julie mango, you must know that you can come in the community and get Julie mango.
Yes,
Likewise,
Miss Dean would be proud of
yeah.
that.
and also jackfruit and all of those things. And I tell you, I have to be hiding from some people now, Gary, because everybody want to know when them going to get more
Wait,
of
then I get more.
the trees,
Listen,
but
okay.
these plants are engrafted plants from
Oh, okay.
the source. And I have to wait on them until they get more to tell me, And it's something that if I become the member of parliament for Central St. Mary, I'm going to expand it right across the constituency because I believe it is a means by which we can empower our people. And there are a number of other things that I'm going to be working on.
Yes, hold on.
I mean,
Hold on, Senator. Hold on. Because everybody I talk to, I want to
mm,
give them a chance because I may not
yes,
have all the questions to ask. I
yes,
want to give everybody I talk to a little chance to go free. Buck
yes.
wild, go buck wild. I know you are a very modest man, but for the next couple of minutes, I want you to brag on your accomplishments. Tell everybody what Floyd Morris has done. Tell them of all the things you have implemented, all the things you have been a pioneer at, like the PATH program and stuff like that. Please, the
All
floor is
right.
yours. Go
Well,
ahead.
I want to start by talking about my personal accomplishments in terms of education. You'll recall that I got blind at age 20. And when I graduated from St. Mary High, that great school that sits on the hill and grows, faith and courage, we say, I left without a single academic subject in 1989. And by 1991, I went back to Kingston and restarted my education, graduated from the Jamaica Society for the Blind, and also completed my CXC, my GCE subjects at the Michael Evening College. In 2 years, I was able to successfully complete 7 subjects, 5 O and A level subjects, 5 O levels and 2 A levels, accounts and economics. And it was the first time that a blind person was successfully completing accounts, which is a mathematical subject in Jamaica. I then went to the University of the West Indies and completed a Bachelor of Arts in Media and Communication in 1996. I completed that. And then I got into the master's program, which I completed in 2000, the Master of Philosophy in Government. I took a break from that. And by 2012, I was back in the education system and completed my PhD in 2017. Uh, so academically, there is absolutely no questions about my qualifications. And I said to you, just watch because something big is coming. Can't say nothing
Can't
yet,
say yet. All right.
but something big is coming. And then, I mean, politically, I have, I was appointed in the parliament in 1998 by former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. And in 2001, I was promoted to Minister of State in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, where I served in that capacity for 6.5 years until 2007. And in 2013, I was promoted to the president of the Senate. And in 2018, I was appointed as the CARICOM Special Rapporteur on Disability. And in 2021, I was elected to serve on the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is a first for anybody in the Caribbean. Nobody has ever been elected to the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities from the Caribbean prior to now. And I within those responsibilities, a number of things have happened. Whilst I was Minister of State, I was the person that former Prime Minister Patterson mandated to implement the PATH program in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And that happened in 2002. And I was also the person who led the negotiations on the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities between 2002 and 2007, and contributed to Jamaica being the first country in the world to have signed and ratified that treaty. Then I led the process for the establishment of the Disabilities Act, getting cabinet approval for it from 2004, straight, and carrying the process straight through to 2014, when it was approved in the parliament. And I was very proud to have been the president of the Senate to affix my signature to that piece of legislation. And whilst I was president of the Senate, I also pioneered and implemented the sign language in the parliament to make sure that deaf persons in Jamaica are able to access information from their parliament. I fought for and got the legislation to be amended for deaf persons to drive on Jamaican road. I put in place scholarship fund, the Margaret Moody Scholarship Fund for persons with disabilities, so who are going to tertiary institutions so that they can get some financial support where that is concerned. As Minister of State, I made sure that whilst I was there in that chair at the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, I got the National Insurance Scheme office in Port Maria, in the parish capital. I made sure that I got it built. I will never forget when I went to visit the office in 2001. There was a flood in the town, and it
Mhm.
damaged some of the um, documents there. And I went back to my then minister, Donald Buchanan, and I spoke to him about it. And I said, we need to get a new building for um, the, the, the parish capital.
Mhm.
And he left, and then Minister Dean Peart came and gave me tremendous support where that is concerned.
Okay.
And when Dean Peart left, Horace Daly came and he continued to give me support, and we got the building built in the parish capital. So it shows that I perform and deliver. I mean, Horace Clark had repaired the Clements Park, where a friend of mine used to dominate the football field down there alongside my brother on a team called Star Cosmos back in the 70s. And, um, you know,
That feeds from memory.
and I heard another name, Peony, being called
Yes,
on
Petey's
the
here, man. Petey's in the
on the
house.
system, who dominated the Clements Park field. And you know, when Horace Clark repaired it in the 1990s, it got damaged in the 2000. And I because of how important Clements Park is to the whole development of Port Maria, I worked along with the Star Cosmos leadership and rehabilitated the entire field and building there, with support from Chase, with support from the SDF, and also from the Member of Parliament, Dr. Morais Guy. And that is a major accomplishment. You know, again, you would be familiar, very, very, very familiar with the currently called Wycliffe Martin High School, but
Yes,
we know
sir.
it's
Yeah.
at Port Maria Secondary.
Put my sec.
and and that playing field was extensively damaged by Hurricane Gilbert
Hmm.
and was left up for a long while, um, not being used. And I remember when I formed a youth club, Black Spear, in Bailey'sville, you know, we did a major project to
Hmm.
rehabilitate the field there. And I mobilized resources from government. I mobilized the resources from the then Member of Parliament, Horace Clark, and Mr. Smart, who controlled
Yep.
the
Brimmer
Brimmer Hall
plantation tours.
tours, right? And he assisted me to, you know, spread the dirt that we had got, the topsoil that we had gotten, and roll the field and make sure that the place come up. It we build a solid base for
Hmm.
the playing field, and put in new goal posts, you know, which I mean the guys were up there, they had a big football competition today, Yardi versus Foreigners, right?
Foreigners.
um, and of which the foreigners come with the man. but
Oh gosh.
but you know, I mean, the goalposts, they said to Mr. Boss, we did a good job on that play field because it stands solid and firm uh, today. And I said to them, well, anything Floyd Morris is engaged in, it is something that is
Solid.
lasting. And you know, I mean, Joyce Eccleston Basic School, which
Hmm.
you are familiar with again, is something that I was responsible for getting funding to renovate that basic school, because I remember when I got the call to say that a project was there at JSIF. What can I do? And I called the then director of the JCF, and I said, look, I mean, it is my basic school that I went to. And she said to me, look, count it done. The project would be
Wow.
approved
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the month. And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, St. Mary High School, which is our alma mater, I was responsible for working with Mrs. Vinette Clark, to coach the
The debating team.
debating team. And we went on to winning the competition one year and
Wow.
coming second in another year.
I see.
Um,
Wait. I see Miss Sedar just putting in the chat that you were her lecturer at in public administration at UA.
yes, 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 yes,
Did
yes,
she
yes.
always do her homework, sir?
Yeah, man, she was a good student. She was a good student. She was a
All
good
right.
student. Yes, because I taught and still teaches a number of government courses
Okay.
um, at the University of the West Indies, So the truth is that I have been involved with a number of activities right across the the parish and the constituency. And I've done all of this without having any responsibility for the communities that I have been involved with.
Mm-hmm.
I I wasn't, I tell you, I told the persons who came to me last year to talk to me
Mm-hmm.
that I had moved on my mind from representational politics
Politics. Mm-hmm.
because I was comfortable with where I am, and the fact that the university, I enjoy
You enjoy that.
every moment at the University of the West Indies, the absolute respect that is shown to me there by my professional colleagues,
Okay.
the latitude that they give me to do my work, the support that I receive, from individuals there. I am superly comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
the University of the West Indies, and I tell you, it is one of the most progressive institutions in terms of providing services for persons with disabilities. Not perfect, but they know that Floyd is around, so they're not going to mess around with persons with disabilities. So, I mean, I enjoy the confidence of my dean, Dr. Heather Ricketts. I enjoy the confidence of my principal, Professor Dale Weber, Dr. Donovan Stanberry, who is the campus registrar. I enjoy their confidence, and most importantly, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, tremendous support and respect that is given to me, and I enjoy being at that institution. So, to respond to the calls of the people of Central St. Mary in light of where I'm at the University of the West Indies, it is not an easy decision for me. But the truth is, they say to whom much is given, much is required.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to impact on the communities that are in Central St. Mary in a significant way to make sure that the lives of the people in the constituency are better.
All right, sir. Before I let you run, listen. Somebody's asking, what about health services? Because remember the days when Port Mara Hospital was one of the central hospitals. And now it's what is it, downgraded to a clinic or something like that. I was born in an anatomy hospital. What's happening? And what would you do? What would you do to help with that situation?
Well, I mean, the Port Maria, it is still a hospital,
Hmm.
but they have different tiers, different classifications,
Okay.
and they do minimal surgery at the Port Maria Hospital. Uh, Dependent on how complicated it is,
It
it
is
would
okay.
go to Anota Bay, and if it is more complex, it would go to Sentence Bay, which is the regional head. And
Hmm.
if it is too complex for Sentence Bay, it would go to KPH or the university hospital. You know, there is no doubt that the hospital is a shadow of itself, what it used to be. And people want to be able to move into that health space from their community
Hmm.
within
Yep.
a jiffy. And you have to bring healthcare closer to the people. And healthcare is a major concern for me, Sarge. I will tell you, I mean, I have come across a young lad who um, has a brain tumor,
Uh-huh.
and the child is 9 years old, and the family does not have the resources to um, to to deal with all the expenses. It's very expensive for a situation like this, and then there is a long waiting
Wait
list
list. Hmm.
that is there to assist. We have to find a way how we're gonna make health care more affordable, and that is something that I'm prepared to fight for, because there are some critical services in a modern democratic society that I believe must be readily available to the people.
To the people. Yeah. Right.
Education
Hmm.
is one, and healthcare is
Hmm.
another. And for Port Maria Hospital, again, a part of my strategy is that I have to tap into the diaspora, because a lot of these individuals in the diaspora are of goodwill, good intent, want to contribute to their community, and I have to make sure that I establish a mechanism where, when they want to give support to a school or a health center, the system um, is less cumbersome and bureaucratic for them.
Uh-huh.
And I am pledging to give whatsoever support in that area for members of the diaspora. And then we have to seek how we can rehabilitate the existing infrastructure that is
Infrastructure.
there, to make sure that, you know, the the hospital facility can give more to the adjoining communities of Sunside, Trial, Bailey'sville, Albion Mountain, Cox Street, Wentworth, Paggy, Frontier, all of those communities that are within the immediate proximity of the hospital. So, you know, I mean, it's a number of things that will have to be done. I am not going to pretend that it's going to be a catwalk, but I I am known to work good with people,
Good people.
and I, I have no track record of corrupt or negative um, baggages with me, and
Hmm.
people are willing to work with individuals like that, because they know, say, that when you send something, come give Floyd Morris, forgive poor people, that now go touch, you know, Floyd is more likely to add to that, to
Add
give
to
to
it.
poor people, you know, because
Wow.
me can I tell people, if I rob poor people, it would result in God taking away my blessings. It would result in Floyd Morris disgracing the entire support network that I have across the country, and my church, the Adventist community.
The Adventist.
So, you know, I mean, I am prepared to work with all of these groups to make the difference where the hospital or health service is
Mm-hmm.
concerned and the educational infrastructure. And I tell you, Sarge, we have to put an onslaught on unemployment in the parish
In the parish, yeah. Mm-hmm.
because our
Definitely.
young people, our young people are turning to illegal activities such as scamming.
Scamming.
And I mean, if we don't have an immediate intervention, right? We're seeing the crime creeping behind it, you know. It
Mm-hmm.
don't reach the levels that it is at in other parishes down the
Mm-hmm.
west, but it takes
It's
time
coming. It's coming.
for
Mm-hmm.
that to happen. And a man like me will have a vision, have to look and see it coming and put in place
Yeah.
uh,
Things to head it off,
um,
right? Mm-hmm.
mechanisms to start to stave it off. And, that is what I intend to do to make life better for the people of
Well,
Central
well,
St. Mary.
well said, sir. Let me ask you something. You talked about your support network. As somebody with a disability, you have to have a close team around you. Are they dependable and trustworthy to know that, hey, this is what Floyd means, this is what Floyd says? We don't want to, you don't want your campaign to drop to any low levels. Are you sure you can keep everybody on the straight and narrow?
Well, I will tell you this that and yes, I do have a support network, strong support network, um, not just relating to this campaign, but
Hmm.
in terms of my life as a whole, I mean, and that is why I have accomplished the levels of successes that I've had so far. When you look at how people have given me support at the university, in my church, the um, political party that I'm a part of, the PNP, you know, it has been tremendous. And where the election campaign here is concerned, once a matter is brought to my attention that an individual steps out of line, I will make it known. Well, first and foremost, I set the ground rules and I tell people that I don't involve in the negative campaign, and respect must be demonstrated to all those who we come across. And if it is that a matter is brought to my attention, uh, where there is some negative campaigning, I am going to speak to the person or persons that are involved. And if there is a repeat of that sort of negative action, then that person have to be brought around to the back room. You know, and I tell you, those who are around me respect what I stand for and know that um, I'm a very serious person when it comes on to um, dealing with people. And I tell them all the time, nobody fixes me. Not even in my political party. I mean, I speak my mind and I speak so clearly, and that is a part of the individuals developing an independent base where you can stand on your own 2 feet, and no one can fix me and say to me that, boy, you should deal with this person and don't deal with that person. Or so I deal with people based on their particular situation
Hmm.
and the difficulties that they face, and try to work with them in terms of how they can improve their lives. So there is a very good support network that I have. And
And talking about support, they say behind every great man there is an even greater woman. How much of a part does your wife play in this? How much of a part does Shelley play in this?
But she is a rock. She is a
I
rock.
can
I mean,
imagine.
right now she's here with me in St. Mary, and you know where I live, so you can just
Yep.
imagine that, and I mean, she is a very strong support. Whenever I am going to take any decision, I mean, I sit down with her and we discuss it and come up with an approach. If it is that it is something that she is not in support of, I tell you, because I want to live peaceably with my wife, I am not going to, I'm not
I ain't
going to
say
venture
I ain't
into it,
saying nothing. I plead the fifth right
Yeah,
there.
yes, yes, man. So she plays a major role, and I mean, when I was at the UN, she was there with me for
Mhm.
the 4 weeks, and she has been on the campaign trail with me
With you. Mhm.
at different points, and she has been a major support, both
Mhm.
spiritually and
Mhm.
otherwise, and that's what good woman is about.
Oh, true, true, sir, true. Let me
Yes.
ask you, your opponent in this thing, Mister Newell,
Mm-hmm.
young lion, chomping at the bit.
Mm-hmm.
No, if let's say for argument's sake, Mister Newell were to be selected as a person to run for the MP,
Mm-hmm.
would you pledge here tonight to throw your support behind him if
Well,
he is a
let
nominee?
me let me tell you, I'm a deputy chairman for the People's National Party,
Hmm.
and so I have to support and respect the democratic traditions of the
Hmm.
People's National Party.
Hmm.
And I mean, I have absolutely no intent to violate
Hmm.
that. you know. I mean, there might have been some issues in the campaign that I am very dissatisfied about, but I mean, I understand the cut and thrust of the politics, and at the end of the
Hmm.
day, our mission is to retain Central St. Mary, and I must tell you that the People's National Party at the next election will retain Central St. Mary. It's just that Floyd Morris will be the member of parliament at the time. But my friend Omar will realize that, it's not his time now. I mean,
Wait,
he didn't,
Omar is
he
a
can wait
Mirzai man, too, right?
he can wait until yeah, well, he spent a year or two at St. Mary High,
I said, right.
and so
I plan to have him on next week. I plan to have him on next week.
you see the problem with Omar is that him leave a good school, an
Yeah.
excellent school, and
Mhm.
go to another school, go get himself contaminated.
Which school he went to?
He went to Titchfield.
Oh my God! No, no, I don't want him on the program. I don't. No, I cannot have a teach. No, 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 no,
so,
no. Mm-mm.
so
Mm-mm.
you know
Teachfield,
that
nah.
for years we battled with Titchfield, and that is the
No,
thorn in his flesh.
yeah,
He has left a very good
him
school,
cross the line
an
this time. Him
excellent
cross the line
school,
this.
and gone to a school that has been our arch opponent for
Yes,
years. You know.
Teachfield. Oh my God! But Floyd, for
Yes.
the next general election, what does the PNP have to do to unseat the present government? What do you think the PNP has to do?
Well, you know, apart from what the government is doing to itself right now, I would say I would say that we have to make sure that we restore our core values that have been
Mhm.
articulated by our founding fathers, led by Norman Manley, to be people centered, to have integrity focus at the core of all that we do,
Mhm.
to make sure that we focus on nationalism, that equality of opportunities is foremost at what we do, and that social justice is a preeminent part of all our doings. And if the party can develop a set of programs, policies, and legislation that are anchored, are people centric, that have integrity, nationalism, equality of opportunity, and social justice at its core, then there is no way that the JLP can stop us from winning the next election. And that is one of the things that, as deputy chairman of the party, I'm working with the current comrade leader Mark Golding and the chairman comrade Angela Brown Burke and the 4 vice presidents and other officers and executive members of the party to ensure. And I can tell you, as I sit here, we have a slew of programs, policies, and legislation that we have already developed. We had our retreat for spokespersons in February, early February. And each spokesperson was asked by the comrade leader to carry 4 ideas that they would seek to implement if the PNP was to be elected tomorrow. And the 4 turned out to be 5, the 4 turned out to be 6, the 4 turned out to be 7, the 4 turned out to be 8, in a lot of respects, because there are the spokespersons are bubbling with ideas to implement when the party forms the next government. And I'm very pleased and as to where we are heading. We are now moving into the phase where the policy review committee is helping to flesh out the operationalization of these programs and policies and to do the costing of them. And at some point in time, we will develop our manifesto. But, the party is not devoid of ideas. It is about when it is that we are going to implement them, because, I think that the government is sort of having an ideological or an ideas freeze right now. And as a result, we have a number of challenges that we are experiencing. Take, for example, the government just implemented the compensation review for the public sector. And I tell people it is an idea that was agreed to in principle in the 2015 heads of agreement between the Portia Simpson Miller administration and the trade unions. But there is a fundamental difference in terms of how a PNP administration operate. We believe in consultation and dialogue before we go into implementation. And there was this rush by the Minister of Finance and Planning to implement this initiative without dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And that has contributed to the bundling that we have seen here with the teachers, with the police, with the other civil servants. It is the worst I've ever seen a negotiated arrangement coming out to be where, people, end up getting you give somebody something in one hand and then you take
And
it
take it
back
back.
in the other hand. And
Mhm.
when you take it back in the other hand, you dig into the person's pocket and take out what was there before, you know? And I mean, it has left a bitter taste in
Mhm.
the mouths of our citizens. And so, what was meant to be a good initiative has been botched by the government. And it is not something that um, this is not the way how a PNP administration would have gone about
About
implementing
it.
this.
Okay. Wait, by the way, you mentioned Portia Simpson Miller. I saw some report where she was very ill. Any news on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know about being very ill because I spoke
You
with
spoke with her. Okay.
her husband, and I have been very close to
Okay.
Mrs. Simpson Miller for the past couple of years, and um, you know, uh, what the husband has said to me
Mm-hmm.
doesn't constitute being gravely ill. I mean,
Okay.
it is a fact that she has um, been um, has gone to seek medical attention, but
Okay.
you know, it's nothing that I mean, from what the husband said to me, from what Mr. Miller
All
said
right.
to me,
Mm-hmm.
is alarming. But it's
Okay.
Portia, you know. It's
It's
Portia, you
Portia.
know, and Portia is well loved, you know. All right. Portia is well loved. So if anybody even see Portia in a hospital room and her head hurt her, you know, the whole Jamaica I go up in arms, you know. So
Oh
I
God.
mean, and that is to show you when you're a good person, you know, your legacy will live on forever.
Forever. Well, Floyd, it's been an interesting night. It's been a fun night. You have some rabid supporters in the in the chat. Some people who look like they'll support you anywhere you go and whatever you do, and they're looking forward as myself. We're looking forward to the plan that you guys have, whether it's gonna be you or Mr. Newell, that Tichy man. But I should have him on next week, and
Yes,
that one should be another fun ride too. But
yes,
Floyd, I wish you all the best, man. I wish you all the best, that I'll be following your progress, and from your from your resume there, seeing that the only thing you don't have on it is an Olympic medal. See, like that's the only thing you're missing, man. But
yes,
it was very interesting, and thanks for coming on, my brother. And we're gonna keep pace with you, whether it's gonna
yes,
be you or Mr. Newell. I'm sure everybody in the PNP will, in Central St. Mary, will throw their support behind you guys. And I'm hoping to make this a non-partisan thing. I'm hoping to one day get somebody from the JLP if they're willing to come in and talk. And
yes,
we'll see. I would love to even have a debate with you guys one night, man.
yes,
That would
yes,
be fun.
yes, yes,
Floyd,
yes, yes.
tell Shelly
Well,
thanks for me here, man. And
yes, yes.
any closing remarks?
Well, I am deeply grateful to you, Gary, and the audience for your continued support and for inviting me to be a part of this dialogue and for me to let people know who I am and what I'm about. And I say to people, Floyd is who you see is who you get. I believe uh, in people and I love people. I get it from my mother, Din Price, Sister Din,
Bryce.
who has been a community activist for years, and I intend to continue that. And I leave by saying to the naysayers who would want to bring fear to the political discourse, to try and say that boy, the man blind, so how am I going to represent you in a parliament? I say to individual, it's not about having a sight. It's about having a vision as to where you want to carry
You want to go.
Central St. Mary, because many have come with sight and we still have the problems.
True.
And I want to say that, the truth is disability respects absolutely no one.
No one.
You can be able-bodied today and disabled tomorrow. So you have to treat persons with disabilities with respect, so that if you should develop a disability, you are treated with that same
Same
respect. You
respect.
can be driving a car down the road and the car lose control, and next time you end up with a disabling condition. It is not something that is unique to Floyd Morris. It's something that can happen to anyone. So treat
Anybody.
persons with
Anybody.
disability with respect. And I say to Central St. Mary people, bless up. I love irrespective of which side you support. It's just pure love. Blessings and honor.
Yeah, man, Floyd. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on, and I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank you.
buddy.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. All right. Good, Sarge.
Easy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we just heard from Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, who hopes to become the PNP Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary. Next week, I should have Mr. Omar Newell. He will be Floyd's opponent as they do that little in-house selection. And we'll see how it goes. Before I leave tonight, I must offer my condolences to the Atterbury family as they lost Beth the past week. Our prayers are with you, and we grieve with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Please, in the coming week, please make sure you share this video. Tell your friends about it. Send it by email, messenger, whatever. Because I think in Western St. Mary, with those two candidates and Central St. Mary, I don't think the PNP can go wrong with either of them. Now, like I said, we have Mr. Omar Newell next week, and like I told Floyd, I'm trying to get some GLP people on too, so we can make this a non-partisan thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your support, and this is Garfield Waller wishing you all a peaceful, restful Saturday night. Take care, guys. Okay. Oh yes, sorry, Rose, a bit confused. Con- Condolence to Arlene. Arlene having lost, oh my gosh, three in the last 3 weeks. Her mom, stepdad, and cousin. Arlene, our prayers are with you, dear. No matter how much I give you trouble on Facebook, please know that I feel your pain. So, ladies and gentlemen, bye. Take care. Have a nice evening.